The neck shoulder mobility sequence. I recommend reviewing the following instructional videos prior to starting this sequence. The low back hip complex is an essential component for a good shoulder mobility and stability. Gently bring your right knee to your chest and hold it for 30 seconds or 2 to 3 deep breaths, and then switch. Bring your left knee to your chest, hold it for 30 seconds or 2 to 3 deep breaths. Next, we move into a simple low back stretch in which we're going to let our knees fall to the right and then to the left. You can drape your right foot over your left knee and let it drop, or you can let both knees fall to the right and then fall to the left. Holding each position for 30 seconds or 2 or 3 deep breaths. You begin to incorporate the upper extremity when you let your arms out to your side as shown, trying to keep them as close to the ground as possible. From here, we go into a gentle pelvic tilt where we're trying to flatten our lumbar spine against the floor. As you can see here, I'm pulling my hips up and down, trying to get my lumbars to be flat against the floor. I'll rotate my hips approximately 5 to 10 times. Next, I go into the gentle diaphragm stretch in which I take my fingers and gently wrap them under my left and right ribs. I don't press too firmly, just enough so that as I take each deep breath in and out, I can get a little bit of a stretch underneath my fingers. I will do this for approximately 10 breaths. Next, I proceed to the lower neck stretch, in which I gently place my fingers in the soft area just behind my clavicles, which are my collarbones. I don't press firmly against my collarbones, just enough pressure into the soft region of my neck that as I take 10 deep breaths in, I can feel the tissues rising against my fingers and then falling down, getting a nice little deep stretch into the bottom portion of my neck. Next is the upper thoracic spine mobility. Ideally, as I do in the lumbar flattening, I can raise my hands all the way over my head, let the back of my palms touch the floor, all the while my lumbars don't have an arch in them. However, do the best that you can. Next, I'll show several variations of thoracic mobility using a foam roller. Remember, please review my thoracic mobility video to better understand all the variations of foam rolling for the upper spine. Here I move from gliding back and forth to statically arching my back and raising my arms over the head to add more flexibility to my upper back. And finally, I'm just resting here for 2 or 3 deep breaths, letting the tissues get a good stretch with the assistance of breathing and the foam roller. Now I'm moving into shoulder mobility specific activities. Here I'm demonstrating how to get more external rotation into the shoulders using a simple weight. Ideally, the back of your hand can easily touch the floor without any assistance, as I'm going to demonstrate right here. And sometimes you need a little bit of a stretch with the assistance of a weight in order to achieve it. If you don't have a weight, that's okay. You can simply use a can of crushed tomatoes like I'm using as the assistance. You just need enough weight to help with the external rotation. Now, if you've had a history of shoulder dislocation, I do not recommend this particular component of the shoulder mobility unless you've been cleared by your orthopedic surgeon. Next, we transition into internal rotation of the shoulder. My elbow is equal to my shoulder height, and I gently press my hand towards the floor. Ideal shoulder mobility would have the hand approaching the floor, if not touching the floor, with minimal discomfort. Here I'm gently pressing on my hand, getting a nice stretch to the shoulder, holding it for about 30 seconds or 1 to 2 breaths. Next, we're going to work on scapular mobility, trying to get the shoulder blade muscles working efficiently and in a coordinated manner. From this position, you're going to gently raise your hands over your head, palms facing up, attempting to get your hands to touch overhead without your arms lifting off the floor as demonstrated here. If they do lift off the floor, return your arms back to your side, do a little pelvic tilt, trying to keep a lumbar flattening, and raise your arms again. And only go as high as your arms go until they lift off the floor, and you can keep a lumbar flattening position. Repeat this movement 5 or 10 times during this sequence. Here I demonstrate the same scapular movement, but from a different angle. I focus on trying to keep my hands in the back of my arms on the floor. If my arms rise above my head, I return them back to the position where they were last on the floor. And here I'm doing a little bit of a back and forth movement that does a good job of stretching the tissues so I can get my hands a little bit higher. Now we transition to a rotator cuff exercise. Use a very light weight or even a can of crushed tomatoes. The key is keeping your elbow at your side and lifting the weight as shown, trying to get the largest range of motion that you can. Start off with 5 or 10 lifts on each side. I do encourage you to do this on both sides, and here's a demonstration of it from the back. Next, we move into the 3-point neck stretch. The 3 points are in front of the ear, on top of the ear, and behind the ear. To stretch the left side, I secure my left hand, and then I'll take my glasses off so I don't hurt myself, and place my right hand in front of my left ear, and give a nice gentle stretch. I can do that for 30 seconds or for 1 full breath. I then reposition my hand over my ear and reposition my hand behind my ear, holding each position for approximately 30 seconds or 1 or 2 full breaths. Then I switch and do the other side, securing my right hand underneath my hips. If you're doing this stretch on a chair, you can just grab the side of the seat rather than sitting on your hand.
Okay. What do you need? Need something?
I have a question. So, when...
Chin tucking plays dual role as it helps strengthen up the front neck muscles and stretch the back of the neck muscles. This movement is not bringing your chin to your chest, but pulling your chin backwards, as if you're trying to make a double chin. You might experience a slight stretching in the back of your neck as well. In addition, you can gently place your fingers behind your collarbone, as you did earlier in the sequence, and as you're gently stretching the tissues of the lower neck, do a chin tuck as well. I'll now show you the chin tuck with the lower neck stretch from a different angle. You can do this chin tuck 5 to 10 times during this sequence, and when this is added to the 3-point stretch, makes for an excellent quick neck stretch routine any time of the day. Next is the door frame full body mobility sequence, modified for the shoulder. It is abbreviated as the instructions are available in the teaching video. While you are becoming familiar with this sequence, pause the video to practice each activity. Eventually, you will not need this video in order to do this sequence. The approach to these mobility sequences is to demonstrate activities that can be done throughout the day. The more you can find ways to incorporate this sequence into your daily life, the more benefit you will find. Fitness is a daily lifestyle that can be improved with small steps throughout the day.